And don't forget you can like, share, subscribe. And if you want to, you can donate to my PayPal. Put the link in the comment section at the end of this stream. Edgar Berlanga had to be disciplined when he was facing Alexis Angulo. And the game plan from round one was clear. He needed to jab Alexis Angulo to control him, and that was the way to win the fight. Alexis Angulo had faced two champions, David Benavidez and Gilberto Ramirez. Very, very strong fighter, Colombian, very, very durable. Um, the corner stopped the fight against David Benavidez. He was very durable against Benavidez, and he was still trading, he was still fighting, he was still live. And against Gilberto Ramirez, he went the distance. Ramirez won a unanimous decision win. But, he's engaging, very strong fighter. Edgar Berlanga's job, and I remember even listening to his trainer from New York. He was the trainer of uh, uh, the fighter that faced Canelo Alvarez, the black fighter. I forgot his name right now, but it will come to me. He beat Kid Chocolate in New York. It's from Brooklyn, New York. It'll come to me. But anyway, his trainer, well, his former trainer, um, who he linked back with, and I'm trying to remember the trainer's name. I can't remember it. So, but he said that he would need to jab him, and he went to Puerto Rico into training camp there under a new trainer, and the game plan was very simple. You're keeping the stick on him. You're controlling him with the stick. And it's interesting because if I do recall the last couple of fights against outstanding fighters, they had to use the jab. We saw Devin Haney give us a tutorial on the jab. We saw Jamel Charlo use the jab against Brian Castano. We saw Naoya Inoue. We saw him use the jab, the stick, quite effectively against Nonito Donaire in the second fight. We saw also Dimitri Bivol use the jab to control Canelo Alvarez. So we've been getting great exhibitions and great tutorials on the jab. If you want to see what a jab looks like, you can look at all of these fights I just mentioned. And so Edgar Berlanga, he had to deal with a very, very strong fighter, and he had to be disciplined. He had to stick to the game plan and jab his way to victory. The most important thing for him was just to simply do the jab, and he was actually doing a pretty good job of jabbing. He's not the greatest boxer out there. He still has a lot of learning to do. But once he stuck to the game plan, he was pretty much controlling the fight and most of the fight. Now, where he veered off from the game plan was a couple times, and his trainer would focus him back. Now, particularly in round, I believe it was number 8, or it could be, yeah, I think it was round number 8. Uh, he got caught a couple times, and then he lost focus, and he, believe it or not, he was going to bite off the ear of Alexis Angulo, which would have been ridiculous. You could see he wanted to fight all the way through the fight, and his trainer kept on keeping him focused, kept on re-emphasizing who's the best, and then he'd say you, so he would focus in on his trainer. Okay, and obviously they did a great camp with boxing, making him box. And his tendency, Edgar Berlanga, as his trainer even said in the corner at the end of the ninth round, is Edgar Berlanga wants to bang. All he wants to do is bang. He wants to bang, bang, bang. And actually, at the end of the eighth round, he was banging a little bit with Angulo. But the thing about it was, he was using the jab. And then he abandoned the jab somewhere in the ninth round, somewhere close to the end of the ninth round, and he started banging with Angulo. And Angulo was starting to rip some hard shots on him and busted up his face in the ninth round. So actually, most of the damage that happened to him actually happened late in the fight. And his trainer berated him. He went in on him. He was like, "Hey, what the hell are you doing? What did I tell you? This fight is not no fight for you to be trying to knock him out and trying to bang with this dude. I know you want to fight, but I want you to simply stick and move. That's the game plan. Jab." He said, "Now you going out there in that final round. Don't give this guy no opportunity, no chance. Don't bring him back into the fight. Use your jab." And so he really emphasized that on Edgar Berlanga, which clearly was the game plan. Now, some people are saying that Edgar didn't look himself and he was afraid or something like that, or he doesn't know his identity, or he's a beast and he wants to let out the beast inside of him. Listen, listen, listen. You have to develop other aspects of your game, okay? And Edgar Berlanga actually can box a bit. He clearly showed that he is able to make adjustments and actually box off the back foot. And this is a very good thing for him to develop. It's just like with Tank, with Floyd, when Floyd told Tank you need to box off the back foot against what's the kid's name? Pitbull Cruz, okay? Isaac Cruz, because not every fighter and not every fight you're going to be able to do what you usually do. And if you don't have other dimensions, if you don't develop other aspects of your game, you're going to be in problems when you meet up with your match. So you want to be as versatile as possible. And I do believe this was a good move on the part of Edgar Berlanga to have this coach to help him to stick to the script, because he does have a nice jab. He really does have a pretty good jab. And so when I saw him jabbing, and how he was using the jab and how he was shooting the jab, he wasn't always shooting the jab with confidence, but then he was shooting different kinds of jabs, so that was pretty good. And his stick and move is pretty good. I mean, he makes some mistakes sometimes, but his defense kind of covers up for it, so he doesn't get caught flush, or he's kind of partially blocking the shots or catching the shots as they're coming in, so it doesn't have a full effect on him. So he has a nice little peekaboo defense as well. So Edgar Berlanga, I really appreciated when he stuck to the script. When he moved away from the script, that's when he got punished. When he moved away from the script and is trying to bang and use his power to overpower his opponent, that is when he really got damaged. Uh, a couple few little things. I like his skill. He showed that he could lead with the right hand as well. He wasn't just using the jab. He was leading with the right hand. He has a lot of things. He has a lot of tricks in his bag. I would love to see him develop more. And a lot of people would be like, "Well, we want to see knockouts." Well, there's certain fights where the opponent is not one that you really want to go in there and try and stop. You know, that's not the goal. The goal, that particular opponent, if I were to say anything, he's very doable. He's a very durable opponent, very dangerous. Got heavy hands. Clearly, he's very physically strong. I think he's even stronger than Berlanga in there. So you really don't want to be going in a fight. I mean, the guy's flat-footed, thank God. If he was, nimble-toed, it would be another story, another kind of fight. But this guy was slow enough, and he's flat-footed enough, but very, very solid, very, very strong enough that these are opponents that you don't get out of there just like that. And what he did, the game plan that they utilized, the game plan that he actually used was very effective, because for once I kind of agree with the judges in that I don't think that Angulo won more than 2 rounds, if so much, in that whole fight. But even though he did win 2 rounds, it was testy all the way down to the 10th round. And he was picking up some momentum because Berlanga gave him momentum in the ninth round, trying to bang with him. So he was kind of on to Berlanga a bit in the 10th. But again, Berlanga was able to make it to the end of the 10th. He takes a good punch. He got caught with what I think was a right uppercut or something like that. It was pretty flush, but he snapped his head back. But he was able to make it to the end of the round. Again, He went like you can see he wanted to go toe to toe with the guy because at the end of the fight, it's like he was trying to get up in the guy's grill and up in the guy's face, which was pretty funny. But you know, he has to understand you have to be a disciplined beast. You can't just be a beast. You know what I mean? And so I feel like this particular opponent, and he was saying how the guy was elbowing him or something like that. I really couldn't care less. You have to stay disciplined. And if you got to get him back, you know, I saw him hit the guy a low blow. The referee kind of just let it slide. But there are fights where you have to stay disciplined, and this was an exercise in discipline. This was an exercise, a tutorial in discipline. Stick to your game plan. Don't let the other guy lure you out of the game plan and make you fight another fight in which you regret in the end. You know that you allowed yourself to go into the other guy's fight because maybe you win, but maybe by winning you might take some damage that you're not supposed to take. Of course, we know that in the fight before his fight, there was an upset, right? Uh, um, Jose Vargas, he got stopped and almost badly damaged too. You know, and that just happened because the opponent hit him with a left hook he didn't see, and just like that, a fight can change. As good as you may have the best chin in the world, if you get caught right, you know everything can change. And this is what I hope these young boxers like Berlanga understand. You know, yes, you may be tough, and maybe you're bigger than the guy in size, and maybe you can take a shot. But what his trainer's trying to tell him is, you have the tools in your tool bag you need to sharpen, where you don't have to take those shots, where you don't have to trade, where you don't have to take damage. Come out to fight and build on that skill. You know, one thing about Jamel Charlo and also I want to just mention another guy, uh, Stephen Fulton, aka Scooter, aka Cool Boy Steph. Cool Boy Steph, when he was boxing Daniel Roman, we saw what this is what you want to see. You want to see variation off the stick. You want to see different combinations leading with different hands. So Cool Boy Steph probably has the most complete tutorial on how to box an opponent where you're not depending on your power to get him out of there. Okay? Now Nui, he still throws everything with too much power. He always tries to throw everything fast. Always tries to throw everything at one speed. He always tries to throw everything with power. Okay? Hold on a second. Let me just. Right? He's always trying to throw everything with power. Whereas, if you look at Stephen Fulton, you get almost a complete pro tutorial on how to actually box an opponent where you're dominating them, you're controlling the action, you're seeing the spaces, and you're choosing what openings you want to dissect and why. See, and everything in boxing comes down to knowledge. What I mean by that is, it's not just throwing a jab, it's why am I throwing this jab? For what reason? What do I want my opponent to do? When you're controlling or dictating the pace of a fight, which is what Berlanga is now applying. It's not like he has some degree of knowledge about it because he probably does this all the time in sparring. He may have done that in the amateurs, but in his pro career, against intense opposition that's just fast enough that he can manage the situation, he's now getting a tutorial in how to dictate a fight and make your opponent make certain moves in a fight. Remember, in boxing, it's not so much about speed. It's all about timing. And what does that mean? What does that mean? Timing only comes, you have a really good sense of timing when you know the rhythm of your opponent. That is how they move. And you're able to predict what they may do next. Now you can time them. See? Because you're looking at their behavioral patterns, what they do, what they don't do. You're picking up what they may not even be conscious of, how they move,
and you're timing that. Now, that is the most important thing. So a guy could be moving like this. He's really, really fast, right? But if you get the rhythm of how he's moving, you see that rhythm right there? You seeing it? You're seeing it? It doesn't matter how fast he's moving. I can still catch him. It's kind of like it's kind of like and even better yet, if I can make him do certain things that I want him to do. Now I can actually make it something that I can actually time because I am doing certain things in that ring to make him respond a certain way. Let me give you an example of what I mean. And this is where you take a fighter's strengths and you can use their strengths against them. So I don't want to know the things he doesn't do well. I want to know the things he does well because the things he does well, that's what he's going to go to. But the difference is I'm going to be able to determine when he does what he does well and when he doesn't by producing a situation where he will react the typical way he does. So this is why, see, boxing's as I said, it's a thinking man sport. Okay, so when you start to go to the higher levels, the Mayweathers, the Roy Jones Juniors, you know, when you start talking Pernell Whitaker and these kinds of guys, they're doing certain things. Even Roberto Duran, Mr. Bait and Counter Man, they're creating situations for the boxer who's facing them to do what they like to do best. The difference is when they do what they like to do best, and this is how you take away their weapons from them. You determine when they do it. You determine when they do it. Because they want to do it. They want to show what they do best. But when they do it, you're ready for them. And so when you counter them when they do it, it deters them from doing it further because you discipline them. So, for example, Floyd was able to take away Oscar De La Hoya's left hook and jab. How was he able to do it? Anytime Oscar threw the left hook, which Floyd bait him into throwing, Floyd would roll under the left hook and pivot out and clock him with a right hand. Right? Anytime Oscar threw a jab, Floyd disciplined him. Floyd would counter that jab. So, by countering the jab, and if you have very good reflexes, and even if you don't have very good reflexes, you could be slow as a slug, but you bait the jab out of the opponent, and the opponent throws his jab, maybe a double jab, or whatever, and you know the jab's coming because you just bait him into throwing it. So once he throws the jab, you know he's going to throw the jab. You know why he's throwing the jab, because you bait him into doing it. And now you counter the jab. You're in position to counter it almost immediately. And that deters him from throwing the jab further because every time he throws the jab, you're countering the jab. It's like he knows you're going to throw the jab. It's like he has this sixth sense everybody talks about that you're going to throw the jab, right? So ultimately, in the end, when he counters your jab, which he initiated because he's dictating, shout out to Gary Henderson. What's up, my brother? Because he's dictating what's going on. That's why it's very important to be first, be sharp, and all these things that we talk about. So what Edgar Berlanga did was exactly that, but he did it on a less high level because there's so many levels to this. So I don't want to go into all of that, but just suffice it to say this, right? That Edgar Berlanga was controlling Alexis Angulo. He was the one popping the jab on him. Shout out to Big Zodiac. What's up, my brother? He was the one popping the jab on him. And when you're throwing a jab, there are different reasons for throwing a jab, right? You could throw a jab to make your opponent get defensive and want to take a step back or block the shot. So he's closing up a certain area so you can open up, maybe to throw a hook around somewhere. So he's closed down his guard, you can hook around the guard or whatever, right? So there's different reasons for throwing a jab. And there are different speeds at which you throw a jab for different reasons. You understand? And I'm not trying to get too heady or cerebral on people, but just to say that you vary the speed of the jab, the timing of the jab, not just arbitrarily because you want to do it, not just because you want to be unpredictable, but there are certain kinds of jabs that you may want to put after a certain jab. That it's kind of inherent. Once you start jabbing and stuff, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But nonetheless, certain jabs that you put behind a jab, nobody really talks about this, so I'm just going to talk about it, right? In my own way. So for example, let's say you want to get a guy's hands to go up so you can go to the body, right? Okay? The jab that you use may be a up jab. It may be a spear jab. Now, once you do that, and depending on the speed at which you do, let's say, for instance, I'm going to give you an example because boxing is such a intricate thing. I don't want to go into too much detail, but just suffice it to say, and these guys, they train, they do drills on these things. Suffice it to say, if I was to say throw a probing jab, right? A probing jab. I'm throwing a probing jab. It's kind of blinding you if you have the two guard up. You might close your guard up this way. You might bring your hands up this way, right? So I keep on jabbing, like if I'm jabbing to your face, to your nose. But I'm also, I'm throwing it and then I'm throwing it again. You understand? I don't think you understand me. But it's a rhythm. It's a rhythm thing. So it's like I'm over here, I throw, and then I throw. Like that. Right? It's a probing jab. Right? So it's kind of like a double jab, but it's not really. It's just I'm trying to split your guard. Right? But I'm not just trying to split your guard. And that's why the different speeds. It's not about throwing everything with heat. It's not about throwing everything with power. The different speeds was really, it's like a feint, like I was going to throw a jab, and then I threw the jab, and you close up on top here, right? Because you don't want me cutting the guard, so I'm closing it up, right? And that lines up for what? It can line up for a left hook to the head. It can line up for a left hook to the body because I closed the guard inside. It could be a distraction to bring the guard up so I can just shoot a jab to your body, and with speed and with power, where I want you to kind of feel that shot. So that's why I said it's different speeds. It's for different reasons you do it. And again, this is something kind of intuitive in the sense that once you start to do it, you understand what I'm talking about. It sounds very complex when I explain it, but really I'm just explaining the actual real time something that would happen. It's very simple, but it just sounds complex, okay? So Edgar Berlanga was using probing jabs. Edgar Berlanga was using a sharp power jab. Edgar Berlanga was using some spear jabs, especially when he's going to go on the pivot. So, for example, if you want to shoot a shot on the pivot, Floyd Mayweather does it so beautifully, I have to quote him. Go look at Floyd Mayweather. Just type a video. Just type on YouTube Floyd Mayweather jab, and I think he was demonstrating to Anthony Joshua the jab off the angle on the pivot. Go watch that. It's just beautiful. All right, because he's in balance to throw his next shot, and he is pivoted about 30 to 45 degrees. Okay, and I'm being very precise about what I say, but don't worry about it. Just understand he came in through an angle. So if he's jabbing coming in, he's coming in somewhere here, but he's going to leave somewhere about here. About 45-degree angle. Okay? So it's just a beautiful jab. It's such a beautiful, because he's coming off an angle, and I can't explain it to you. You have to see it. He's off on an angle. His whole body's off on an angle, but the jab is coming straight at you. So he's off on an angle. He will end up pivoting back over here, but his jab is coming straight at you. And that's some shit, man. That's all I can say. And, that sort of shit in boxing is what I like. This is what I love about boxing. I try to use it, but in the southpaw stance, I try to use it. I know I use my jab as well to kind of control the traffic a little bit. So, shit. But, there's nothing like a real fight scenario to really put these things into practice. And you can't be testing when you go out there. You have to be confident. You have to be sure about your jabbing. So Edgar Berlanga, anyway, he was using a spare jab every now and then, pivoting out. So he would bait Angulo to the ropes. Sometimes it looked like he was afraid of Angulo, but he was really in control. It's just that his technique's not always perfect. Big Zodiac says that's correct. A lot of people don't know the jab variation. Yeah, there's a lot of different kinds of jabs, and how you use them. See, old school trainers would tell you how to use a jab, why you're using this jab, for what purpose. And when somebody says a guy has a good jab, like I remember Floyd saying Marcus Maidana has a good jab, because Marcus Maidana, he jabbed from low to high, and he had a strong jab, and then he also had this unpredictable jab that he would flick out there if he's moving backwards to protect himself. And the timing of the jab, everything has to do with the timing of the jab and how you throw it. Like, boxing's a thing, you know, not to disrespect Naoya Inoue, because he's a hell of a fighter, but Naoya Inoue depends on speed. That's his thing. So Inoue's using speed. He's very, very sharp, but he still, to me, still has an amateur style of boxing, in the sense that he real sharp, he's really aggressive. His speed is his power mostly, even though he has good power, but it's really the speed. He's kind of like a Zab Judah kind of guy. He's kind of like on max all the time. And I want to see him get more into the pro style of boxing, where there's so much to the pro style of boxing, but Inoue do everything fast. Who Inoue kind of reminds me of, weirdly enough, and it's kind of strange to say, but he kind of like an algorithm. Inoue don't have that nuance, that subtlety to his game. It's kind of like an algorithm. He throws everything hard. He's throwing everything fast. And in a way, he kind of reminds me a little of Vasily Lomachenko. I'm gonna explain to you what I mean, so y'all don't feel mad and how about it. Vasily Lomachenko go at one speed. Like, everything he do, even all his feints and everything, just come in one speed. He just running one speed. You know what I mean? He could speed it up, or he could slow it down, but everything's one speed. And boxing is not that. You meet a boxer like a I'm gonna give you a guy who understands the game really, really well. If he was to bounce up a guy like a James Toney, even though James Toney don't have all that footwork, like, he ain't gonna box off the back foot, just moving around the ring, or a boxer like I don't want to use Floyd, I want to use somebody else. Today, I'm gonna tell you a complete by Shakur Stevenson. Now, Shakur Stevenson is very sharp with a lot of shots too, like Inoue. But Shakur don't always throw everything with heat. You know what I mean? Shakur will probe. He will do different things. He's still very sharp, very fast. But Shakur has certain qualities to him, as precise and exact as he is. But, let me tell you a guy who really got it. Now, if you want to see somebody throw a jab, a beautiful jab, and just the timing and everything, and it's not about speed, because Shakur always, Shakur sparred Andre Ward. Check out that dude, Andre Ward. Okay? And Andre don't use speed. Andre use feints. He got you pausing. He got you guessing where he gonna go next. He set you up with a smooth. He didn't even throw the jab. He feint like he throw the jab, and then he just touch you to the body. And no speed whatsoever. He just take his time and touch you to the body. And when I was doing a certain form of martial arts, I learned it's not about speed. Usyk has a great jab. Yeah. Usyk kind of does what Usyk's better than. I think Usyk's better than Lomachenko. Dmitry Bivol, to a certain extent, is better than Lomachenko in the sense of this. These guys can box on the outside, right? Usyk can box on the outside, and Bivol can box on the outside. And yes, Bivol also kind of changes up the rhythm and speed of his jab. But Andre Ward, I'm going to emphasize on Andre Ward, because all these guys still, they need a certain pace. They need a certain tempo. Andre Ward take a fight right down. he take that speed of that fight right down to whatever pace he wants. You know what I mean? He control it like with feints. Like he even throw a shot and he got you bracing. You know what I mean? That kind of that kind of sweet science is not something that I see a lot of fighters today have. Not even Devin Haney, not Tank, not Shakur have a little bit of it. You know, Terrence Crawford have a little bit of it. Errol Spence, I don't even see it in Errol. You know, I don't even see it in Jamel Charlo. I'm thinking of somebody else who might have it, man. Who else got it? Not even Canelo have it. It's a certain because see it now. See Devin and Shakur, they need to watch out for something, right? They getting their knuckles damaged because how they throw shots and stuff is good, but there's something else they gotta calm themselves down to get the tempo to a certain speed so they can really put leverage into their shots without damaging their knuckles like they usually do. And it's not to do with their knuckles, it's the way how they throw punches sometimes. And that was the same problem Floyd had. But older Floyd, actually boxed better than younger Floyd. You know, older Floyd took his time and wasn't bothered about going fast and throwing a whole set of punches. He put really nice leverage into his punches later on in his career. You know what I mean? And Andre Ward, you know, man, that guy's timing is just so beautiful. Like I can't explain it to you. It's like a beat in a song, right? You got a beat in the song. If it's a little too fast, if it's a little too ahead of itself, it sounds off. You know, for a real trained ear. You know what I'm saying? And if it's just a little bit behind, you know, it sounds off. And you don't want it flush on there. You want it kind of slightly delayed at the same time. That's the timing I'm talking about. And that's what boxing is. The sweet science is about timing. Let me tell y'all again, fuck speed, fuck power. Don't care about that. The sweet science is about timing. Remember that. So, um, you know, that's the thing that, you know, all of these young guns, they still kind of hot and want to burn energy and want to really burn it. You know what I'm saying? They want to just burn. You know what I'm saying? But when they get a little bit more mellower and they really take their time, you know, Floyd always say, I keep my composure and I take my time. And it's all about taking your time in the ring. And to get to that point, it's kind of like life. You know what I mean? You have to go through life to realize, oh, this shit be happening over and over. I didn't realize that. Oh, I just need to take my time, negotiate through it, so I don't have to do a repeat loop. You know what I'm saying? Right. That's like Jamel Charlo. You know, his coach, Derek James, trying to slow his ass down and tell him stop banging. You know? And then Jamel, it clicks in his head. Click. Oh, shit, I don't have to bang with this dude. Just use a jab. You know what I mean? So it's like that kind of reasoning and that kind of maturity and foresight is what's needed in boxing today by these young guns. You know, the young guns, they're hot and hungry and they have a certain degree of maturity, but still at the point they still don't have that perfect timing, that sweet wine, that science of boxing. They still don't have it because they're still inexperienced. They still have to go through certain fights and get that maturation. And so Edgar Berlanga right now, he's like at that point. So a lot of people are banging on Edgar Berlanga and shitting on him. I fuck the fans, man. They don't know shit about boxing. But if you understand boxing, you will understand what Edgar Berlanga right now, what's actually happening to him, how he's being forged, and how. Anyways, what you need in the building. Peace and love to everybody. I'm sorry about what happened. Apparently, I got cut as we were having a conversation. But you know, it's good talking about boxing with you guys. So I'm gonna catch you guys later. What you need. Don't forget you can subscribe, share, comment, and donate to my channel via my PayPal, which I'll hopefully put in the comment section. I got some more things to talk about, so you'll see me in another video very soon. I love talking boxing. I love boxing. We'll talk about the Boxing Hall of Fame. We'll talk about all of the inductees that went into there, hopefully in the next couple of videos. And Boxing's a beautiful sport. It's a beautiful sport. There's nothing quite like it. And when you really start to, go into the details of boxing, it is quite a thing. It's quite a thing to talk about because there's a lot of little small, like Coach Barry Robinson. I always like Coach Barry Robinson. I don't see him too much. Uh, Small things, all things, and hopefully we can talk about those things in the future. Now, I don't have the skill set and I don't have the experience to really truly speak on these things like I would like to. I have some insight, but I still on the outside. There's so much specifics with how you position your body, how you move yourself, and so on. That is typical things that boxers know. But nonetheless, the way I might relate it to you might sound technical, but really it's something that every boxer does. Certain things every boxer does, but there's certain things again, just very few boxers do, and they do it very, very well. So I want to really talk more about boxing with you guys some other time. But until then, what you need out. I'm gonna come back and talk to you guys again on another stream tonight. Don't forget you can donate to my if you want to donate to my channel. Some of you might want to do that. Might want to sponsor me. Just donate directly. It's through PayPal. All right. I'm gonna catch you guys later. Peace.